This is Diane Williams. Welcome to the Crafty View. I'm out here at the Craftsmen's Guild at the Craft Center, and I'm with Lyn-Rae Ashley.
Hi there.
Hello, Lynn. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Very nice to meet you today. So you're a potter?
Yes, I've been doing that for quite a while.
How long, actually?
Gee, I guess I started doing some in college. It was kind of interesting. I was a drawing and painting major. That always been my passion. But I always also enjoyed color, texture, in whatever I did. Even if I do a painting that could be built up, I would do that, so forth. So that's where I started, and then I had to take classes in some three-dimensional art form, and so I took the ceramic class. And unfortunately, fortunately, I guess, I got hooked, and I found it was a perfect marriage of playing with color and texture and form and pattern in a three-dimensional form, which had been my passion anyway. So it kind of married everything that I enjoyed, from the natural textures and stuff of the earth, as well as, the colors all around us.
Okay, so you're out here demonstrating today.
Yes.
And this is what a number of the members of the Craftsmen's Guild do. At least once or twice a year, they come out here, and I see behind you there's a studio here, and is that your husband? And what is his name?
My husband, Jim.
Jim.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Nice being here.
Great studio. I'm going to focus on some of your art pieces. I love the colors, the texture, and in some areas of your work, you have these wonderful sort of, the colors are just like mild, and then I see a little bit of earthiness in your work. Let's talk about your technique a little bit.
Okay. I had worked in doing more glazed potting for many years, and I guess around 1980 or so, I took a workshop where we did a very primitive form of potting, where we fired right on the beach with driftwood and stuff. I did what the earliest potters did, almost every civilization, where they would put their pieces in they made and fire them with the local combustibles. Sometimes they use sheep or cow dung or whatever they had, as well as
Sheep or
driftwood.
cow dung.
Yes. Believe it or not, it doesn't smell that bad. Anyway, and that was fascinating. And I came home from that thinking, well, I've been working with glazes for a while, and thought those glazes have many of the minerals that are in seaweed, because I had read an article in National Geographic when I was a teenager about how it absorbs all the minerals. That's why it's so healthy when the Asians and so forth use the seaweed products in their food. It's actually a very healthy thing. So I thought maybe I'd get some flashes if I use some, since I don't live too far from the ocean. I happen to live on
You're
the
an
West Coast most of the
adventurer. You're an adventurer.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to try things out.
Yeah, at least we give it a try now and then. And so I started experimenting with that. I found that if I didn't go up to full vitrification, where we do the glazes for the size of the clay, it's a little bit lower fire than that, you would capture those minerals, because they would be fuming out of all those combustibles or wrapped around the pieces. And as they fume out, they're absorbed all around the pieces. There you get all these different spider web patterns and bubbles, and this one has quite a mixture of different ones, from lines to bubbles to flashes of different shades, and it's really fun. This was just a pure white piece, and those colors all come from, and patterns all come from the minerals in the seaweed itself.
You know, that makes me think of the galaxy, out in the galaxy.
All the different flashes you can see. So it's really fun,
Wow.
because I kept experimenting with that. And here I did the seaweed firing first, and then I did fired with just the carbon bearing things. So I get mostly that smoky, charcoaly color, along with some of the patterning and so forth that come
So,
up.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because I'm looking at it and it looks similar to raku, but talk about that, the difference and the history behind these particular pieces here.
Okay, these do kind of relate back to my original starting when I did it in the hole in the ground. And almost every civilization would try to do these same process as far as they would want a vessel to carry their grain or maybe their water if they could get it vitrified enough. They had good enough clay. So they would make a hole and they would use local combustibles and also dry sheep and cow dung or whatever they had, maybe goat. And it all burns and helps make that fire hot enough to make it hard, brings the temperature up high enough. And that was sort of the beginning of it. And as my home from a workshop where I did that, I thought, well, I don't live too far from the ocean. The ocean has these minerals, which I believe I just mentioned. And so I would maybe get the flashes of color. So I went ahead and started experimenting beyond that. And it's similar to raku in a way. They throw their pieces or they hand build them. They often, like the tea bowls, are often hand built or casually thrown because they love the irregular shapes, the Japanese. And they'll often use a glaze on the inside of them. And they put it into the fire and bring it into a kiln and bring it up to a high temperature, and then bring that out and put smoke it then afterwards to get these smoky tones along with their little their glazes. So there's some differences, and that is a much later progression of clay work.
Okay, and now how do you get the colors? These different colors.
Many
The
of them
blues and
come
green?
from the minerals, the pink and peach and rose colors, and the smoky blacks, of course, and then the white ones. But the blues and the greens, I pre-color the clay first, the best I can, and then some of it I wedge it right in, and then I wrap it with the seaweeds and driftwood, just like I do these, and put it in the kiln. I make a clay box in my kiln to keep the ash and everything fairly clean. And that puts colors, the patterns on top of the colors, like these here, and so forth, or these there. Because otherwise it would be all just maybe a light blue.
Just wonderful. And then when I look at this right
Those
here,
are the little tiny bubble floats from some of the seaweed. It has very
yes.
small seaweed.
Very unique.
Pieces. Changes a little bit on each side.
Mm-hmm. So that's your signature, or do you have another signature on your work? Now, I don't mean the literal signature.
Oh, no,
but,
I know.
But something that identifies your work. That's your signature style.
Well, I do tend to work primarily with classic shapes. Some
Okay.
people do more hand building or other things. I sometimes will put, not too many on this, a little interesting top finials and things on things out of texture that I'll add to a lid, like a lid like this. I might add something on top that would stick up, that would have all kinds of texture as well.
Okay.
I just didn't I don't tend to bring as many when I have to travel. We traveled about 2,000 miles to get here.
Did you? What state do you live in?
I live in Southern California.
Oh, you're in California. Oh, we're so glad to have you.
But my family roots are right here, and
Yes.
And my oldest son is settled here.
I love the etchings on here.
Yeah, I enjoy contrasts. I often will put either heavy carving or texture one sort or another, so one place or another on most of the pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Wonderful. And this is information about your work, inspired by the fire.
That it was.
And your contact information. Excellent. Oh, I love what you have engraved and etched in this one. It's very artistic. So you have an artistic background. You said you were a painter?
I was a painter before primarily.
Okay.
Got into a deviation that became my passion. And it was something I could also do when my children were young. Well, painting I couldn't because I became so moral focused. I get so deep into it that I couldn't I couldn't be a good mom. With this, I can keep my radar going.
And you got your support system here with you. This is fabulous.
Yeah, he's been a great help through it all. He's been a lot of encouragement, and we go down and take nice walks on the beach and collect the seaweed and have nice strolls.
A custom potter's wheel.
Did you really?
She's a little short, and
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I'm under 5 feet by a couple of inches. So.
Okay, just barely 5 feet tall. Oh, and so there's the difference when you're short and you're using the wheel and pedaling or...
Yeah, I use the pedal and stuff, but you have to get your arms and your shoulders over your wheel. So this I can do to a reasonable degree, but the one Jim made I can get really on top of more, and that helps me with my strength.
So you don't have to use a rollator when you get older, you know, to walking with that walker. Oh, you preserved your back. Very good. I'd love to see you do some of your work.
Well, I can try to see if my hands will work. I've been out of practice for a little while. Let's see, I've got...
And take your time.
And I use a porcelain clay. It's very, very smooth.
A porcelain clay.
It doesn't have any what they call tooth, like some of the stoneware clays that have what they call grog, a very fine, hard material that helps. It's that strength and helps you throw high on this. This is like almost like throwing with cream cheese. It takes a little bit more concentration when you first start out, getting used to a simple thing. But since before I fire them, after I throw them, I burnish them. Here's a.
I can't. Could you speak a little bit louder?
I will try. Yes, don't have a big voice. I'll come over here and get a piece. But when I finish throwing them and they're almost dry, not quite, I compress the surface to give them shine, because these do not have glaze on them. The shine comes by hand polishing. I'll take something like a Sharpie, or you can use a stone, or some people use a light bulb so they won't press so hard, and gently go, it's almost like pencil strokes in one direction, and then another direction, and then another direction, all around the pieces. So
When
you
it's
have to go around the
almost
piece
dry.
3 times, and that compresses the surface, so the molecules are very tight together and gives you this soft shine. Then afterwards, I give it just a light waxing, just to bring it back like you do when you're finishing up fine woodwork. So
Okay.
that's a bit of the process we didn't discuss. What makes it different from other pottery? Okay, water. I better get my glasses. It might be better.
I tried this one time. I don't know that it's the thing that I should be doing.
It's one of those things. The clay wants to throw you when you first start.
That's what
Take a
happened.
while to master it and start throwing it. You see, I'm having a little hard time getting over the center. 'Cause it's a...
And you've got your basin of water there, a bowl of water.
Try to get it reasonably well centered to start with. Make sure it doesn't want to fly off, because once in a while your clay will want to start sliding. So it's good to kind of give it a little extra attachment. Don't throw with a lot of water. Some people throw with more. I don't like it to get too sloppy. I can stop that. I'm getting used to a new wheel, because this is not my own. So things are working differently on a slide. Not good.
That one's loose and goosey.
Well, what they have these pins on these wheels, and they're pretty well attached. And if I tried to throw on that, it would tear up my hands.
Yeah.
So I'm using one of the what they call a bat on top. Again, my bats at home work differently. There we go. I don't think it's actually in the hole. Maybe these are a little further out. There we go. That looks like it'll be closer fit if I can get it in. Okay, let's see if that works. Pretty big wobble.
We're watching Lyn-Rae Ashley from California. She's here at the Craft Center in Ridgeland, Mississippi, demonstrating her pottery work. This is not her usual wheel that she works with, so she's adapting and getting used to using someone else's wheel that she's seen for the very first time. She's becoming one with the clay.
That I can.
Molding and shaping. It takes years of experience. This looks really easy, but it's really, I mean, it just takes experience. She's controlling the wheel with a foot pedal here. Is there just one foot pedal, Lyn-Rae?
Yes, there is. There is. It's
Okay,
works like a gas pedal in the car.
like a gas pedal. And every now and then she'll dip her hand in the bowl, not for baptismal purposes, but she's baptizing the clay a little at a time. And her technique is to use, as you can see, she uses the shape of her hand to get a certain type of sculpt on the body of clay. She knows just the right speed that she wants the wheel to turn. And I'm watching you as you ease your hand from midway up to the top.
Trying to get the ball centered, all the molecules centered in it.
Okay.
It starts out quite irregular, and for some reason it's really fighting me today. But that's life with clay. Sometimes it mines beautifully. I wonder if I am having it backwards. I haven't played with a shimpo in a long time. I'm going to try it the other way around, see if that works. These wheels can go both directions. Go, this is the right way.
Okay. Does it
Then-
depend on right or left-handedness?
Well, it could, but the Japanese all do it the opposite way around. They do, all their wheels go the other way. And it's been so long since I thought about it. When we were setting this up, I set it up, I think, wrong, because it feels much better now.
So you're going counterclockwise now?
Yes, I'm going counterclockwise.
Oh, look at that.
Get it nice and even so that it wants to pull well when you start actually throwing your walls.
So you're pressuring down on it.
Right, press up and down.
Oh, really?
It was going up, kind of compressing it now down. It feels like it's centered well enough that I'm going to go ahead and what they call open it up. Push your thumbs. Get down to approximately where you think the bottom should be.
And that takes years of experience to learn that as well, to get a feel for it, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that does. And then I always double check it because sometimes I'm fooled. There's my pen.
It's beautiful already.
And then I put a little bit of clay on the pen, and just I like to do that just to verify that it's around a quarter, no more than a third of an inch, about a quarter of an inch, because you want enough room to be able to trim away a nice foot, which is the underside of the pot. Trim away the part so you have a nice little rim when you're through.
How do you keep your hands soft? Does this
I
type of
use a-
clay help?
This type of clay isn't bad. It doesn't bite into your hands. It's smooth, but it is dry. You have to use hand cream regularly. And there are several kinds of products that you can put on that help protect your hands some, but I think they wear off pretty fast.
What type of shape do you recommend for beginners?
They usually start you out with a cylinder because you can build almost every other shape from a cylinder, whether it be a short one or a tall one. You can see I've kind of opened it up to, I'll probably make a base out of this, but I'll probably first start out with a basically a cylinder, bringing up the width at the bottom and making it fairly even all the way up to the top. So a little slip of the little, what they call a bat that I have underneath. Just adding a little wiggle to it. We'll work with it.
You did a really nice job taking the clay and bringing it all together nicely so that when you started forming, you're able to manipulate it a whole lot better.
Still a little thick at the bottom. Come on, don't throw me off. Oh, I don't really like that. I'm getting it fairly even from the very almost the bottom to the top now. Wish it wouldn't wiggle, that wouldn't slop in there. It does. You never know what you're going to do when you use other people's equipment. But it works pretty well.
Have you had another career outside of being an artist?
A mother. I spent a lot of years trying to be a good mom to 3 kids.
Nice.
And one of them settled right here close to the art center.
Now she has great-grandchildren.
Really? 3 grandchildren. You all have 3 grandchildren.
3 great-grandchildren.
3 great-grandchildren.
Oh. Do you think any of them would want to learn something like this?
I don't know. A lot of them are artistic. Like the son that moved here is an architect,
Okay.
and works here in Jackson. And
Is that a sponge?
that's a little sponge. Not for water, just for the ease of my hands.
Okay.
Although you could use it for water, you just have to be careful not to introduce too much. Otherwise it'll collapse on you. Okay, let's make it a little bulgier here at the bottom. I'm going to take the easy way and just trim off a little edge at the top, just to make things a little simpler. A number of ways you can do it.
Oh, it's shaping up nicely. Look at that.
I'm going to try to work towards like a neck of some kind. The knuckle is a very, very good tool.
The knuckle.
Yeah, your right finger knuckle ends up being used a great deal for a lot of shaping. And then I support it with the other hand.
Mm-hmm. It's like a mother nurturing a baby, gentle touches.
Can't do anything, move anything too fast because you'll throw it off. And the wheel does want to do make its little mark on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What happens after you finish shaping this vessel?
Okay, it dries for a little while, and I'll be turning it over and trimming the bottom away a little bit because it will be a narrower bottom, and I'll make its little foot let it dry a little bit more. Oh, and at that time or shortly after, if you wanted to do any carving on something, you can, and then it'll dry a little more, and then you do that burnishing I was talking about, where you take the side of a Sharpie. That happens to not cramp my hand too much, so I tend to use a side of a Sharpie marker, but any very, very smooth object, and do the burnishing I was talking about to compress the surface to make the areas you want to be shiny, because if you don't do that, it will have like a very short velvet look as far as a texture,
Okay.
because it,
How do you hold it up when you want to trim the bottom?
Do you use that thing? I call it a garrote.
Sometimes
What they strangle
depending on
people
how
with.
narrow the tip is, you will use what's called a chuck, which is usually a circular item or a item shaped like this.
Use some of your tools.
That you can turn upside down and level it.
Yeah, I see that garrote cut the clay with that. This over here.
Let's see what we have, because I don't know. I didn't bring one with me. That's my clay. That's my wire. So I cut my clay with the wire.
Okay, that's how we cut the clay.
Yeah, that way start. I don't know. They probably have chucks tucked away someplace in some nice little cupboard or something. But
Okay.
they're not.
And these are the kilns.
I had thrown my own. I made some things that look kind of like
These are
open dumbbells.
wheels. Yes.
A little bit kind of
Open dumbbells.
Yeah, the outside shape was more like that. One side was narrower, one side was a little bit wider,
Okay.
and then smooth the tops of them and bisque them. That's the first firing what makes them hot, fairly hard, but still porous. And then not glazed or anything. And I used that. I put that on my wheel and put little what's called wads, little pieces of clay around it to hold it to your wheel. It helps hold it down.
Okay.
Then you put your pot upside down in that kind of like double funnel shape, and so that you don't damage the neck of your vase or whatever.
Yes.
And trim it out.
Mm-hmm.
Trim it out.
That wheel keeps going.
Yeah, it's not 100% on. Let me show you the bottoms of some of these.
Mm-hmm. So when you wash your hands, that clay, do you wash in a vat or do you wash and you have special sink?
I don't use a sink. If you have a special sink that has a sink for it, you need to have a special trap that catches some of the clay because it can clog your plumbing. Otherwise, you need to find a place where you can dump your thickest wash water.
So mothers, do not start your children with this and rinse it down the sink.
Yeah, one thing, when it's almost clean, you can go down the sink, but not until you really have it off.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want a plumbing bill.
Yes. This has been excellent. Excellent. And these are candle holders?
Yes, those are little candle holders. Or you could, since they are little glasses, you could also put a little small nosegay in there if you wanted to. Since they're not glazed for water, they're more decorative items.
Mm-hmm.
you know, all of these have, you know, your foot, this is the foot
Oh,
you
I
trim.
see how you do
It
that.
came down like this before,
Yes.
and so I had it upside down in my little open dumbbell, and trimmed away a little bit of this, and then down into the foot.
Let me see what that says on the bottom.
It says seaweed-fired porcelain, unglazed, not for water. I like to do that so people will have a reminder. I usually tell people when they buy them that as well. My name and my phone number. So.
Okay.
But this one has a bit of carving around the neck, as well as all the seaweed doing all of its happy things. You can control it only partially. The fire, during the time it's burning, things do shift and so forth. You can usually plan where most of the activity will be. And occasionally some of the tall pieces, I don't know if any of these really show up that much. Not as much as some I've done. They often have one side that's more calm, kind of a meditative.
Okay.
The other side has more busy activity, if they're really tall pieces, because I often put them on their side when I fire them. Since there are no glazes, I don't have to worry about them sticking together like you would in a normal kiln.
Yes.
So,
This has been wonderful, and I want to thank you so very much. Where are you located in California?
in the Los Angeles area in Palos Verdes.
Okay.
We've lived there a long time and enjoyed it. But my father was, I say, from the Delta here, and his family's been here for many generations, and we enjoy coming back. Mississippi is a great place.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for watching the Crafty View. And be sure to press like. Thank you.